Once known as Jack Brolin, a reporter for the national news, the hero was born when a freak accident gave him the amazing power of extraordinary hindsight. From toxic spills to unjust wars, there is no task too large for Captain Hindsight. You see those windows on the right side? They should have built fire escapes on those windows for the higher floors, then people could have gotten down. And then on the roof, they should have built it with a more reinforced structure so a helicopter could have landed on it. Yes, of course. And then you see that building to the left? Yes. They shouldn't have built that there, because now you can't park any fire trucks where you really need to. Well, looks like my job here is done. Goodbye, everyone!
I don't think it matters if it includes me or not. I think what's important is that free speech is the #1 weapon against absolute tyranny. And although you cannot have complete free speech, because then conversations completely break down into asinine insult fests, I do like the idea of the changing of the guard when it comes to control over information. The universe has swings and balances, and God often restores balance to the universe, and perhaps it might swing the other way for a while. I truthfully am a person who believes that all points of view are extremely important, because as soon as you block points of view, you have absolute tyranny.
Each one believes what he can understand. This is a quote of Empedocles. He also said, «Η μημάθεια είναι χειρότερη της αμάθειας». Half knowledge is worse than not knowing. But how can we avoid half knowledge? With analytical and objective thought. So let's analyze the statements of Andrew Tate.
And although you cannot have complete free speech, because then conversations completely break down into asinine insult fests, because as soon as you block points of view, you have absolute tyranny.
Although true, absolute free speech is harmful to societies and immoral, the justification Andrew Tate gives is half true. No wonder he converted to Islam, as this kind of logical blunders are main menu in Islamic apologetics. He said, if we allow free speech absolutism, then conversations break down into asinine insult fests. That is half true. Societies are not threatened in the slightest from insults and vulgar speech, because people who engage in this kind of speech are organically frowned upon and marginalized by other people and social institutions. At the same time, fascists, like Islamists, are using blasphemy to shield their political ideology from all kinds of criticism. Andrew Tate, therefore, with his half knowledge, supports tyranny by supporting blasphemy laws. The real reason we cannot have absolute free speech is to avoid hate speech that might lead to psychological harm and even insight into violence against certain groups of people. Andrew Tate, confused and not analytical thought, led him to promote hate and violence against people and tyranny while thinking he's doing the exact opposite. Now, another reason why we cannot have free speech absolutism is because that leads to a paradox. If inclusive and free societies tolerate the intolerant and let people challenging the free market of ideas, democracy, civil and human rights, then we end in a tyranny. As we saw in Nazi Germany, under the veil of democracy and civil rights, how propagandists like Goebbels implemented and brought a Nazi tyranny.
The number one most dangerous one is this idea of tolerance. To sit and talk about being tolerant sounds like such a good thing that it's very difficult for someone to sit and say, no, I am an intolerant person. Now you look bad. But when they say tolerance and push tolerance to the point where absolute degeneracy must be accepted,
that's the point, yeah.
Then you're a better person to not be tolerant. You can't be tolerant of degeneracy. You can't be tolerant of your own children seeing things they shouldn't see. You can be tolerant of the destruction of society. If they're going to sit here and say that, no, tolerance is the best thing ever, and then Trojan horse it and destroy the way humans interact, then I don't think tolerance is a good thing.
Islamists are not dumb. They can formulate a phenomenically logical argument. Where they completely derail, and therefore most of their arguments are out of the pale, untrue and dangerous, is their worldview. they base logically consistent arguments on their own wrong presuppositions, on wrong premises. What Andrew Tate means by absolute degeneracy are basic women's rights and the right of people to ridicule and criticize religion. At the same time, he names radical Islamic true moral and social degeneracy as the warrior culture. Another reason we cannot have absolute freedom of speech is because in certain kinds of environments, like hospitals, universities, and other highly qualified institutions, expertise is and should be valued more than ignorant speech, and we shouldn't allow ideologues to corrupt these institutions. There are places in societies where not all speech is equal. That concept is something Andrew Tate finds difficult to swallow when he thinks in medical emergencies, like in the coronavirus emergency, non-qualified people should have an equal say on how societies deal with matters of health.
Yeah, I've been very, very successful in spite of them, but not many people can do that. I'm in a pretty unique position. But I think that everybody needs a voice to a degree, and social media platforms are now the most important platforms on the planet. They control information, and they influence real-world decisions, and they influence people's perception of reality. The last few years of COVID have been a perfect example of what happens when you censor one side of the argument and you only allow one point of view to be purported by the matrix in and of itself, and that's how you end up in tyrannical situations. I think you were just discussing that, Piers.
All people should have a say in an inclusive and pluralistic society. Wow, how noble, eh? What he means by that, though, the opinions of conspiracy theorists like himself should be valued equally with medical care professionals in a time of medical emergency. We should implement an Islamic theocratic dictatorship under which women and unbelievers are second-class citizens. It's almost like he is doing what he was accusing others of doing.
To sit and talk about being tolerant sounds like such a good thing that it's very difficult for someone to sit and say, no, I am an intolerant person. Now you look bad. But when
To sit and talk about inclusion and free speech when you support blasphemy laws and the subjugation of women is what? Look, guys, this guy is very boring. Okay, let me give you the recipe to defeat all his arguments. He makes phenomenically, logically consistent arguments that sounds good based on the wrong premises, based on his sick worldview. Yes, Andrew Tate, if your views about reality, if your worldview is the true and morally true, then yes, your logic works. But unfortunately, your worldview, your perception of reality, your perception of right and wrong is corrupted, to say the least. Okay? It's monstrous. Okay? It's a monstrosity. It's Frankenstein. So because you are sharp, you are not intelligent, because in order to be intelligent, you also need emotional quality. So, a pocket calculator can make mathematics in seconds. That doesn't mean the pocket calculator is intelligent. The same goes with you. You have sharp mind in IQ, in intellectual quality, like the pocket calculator quality, but your emotional quality is zero. You don't have any emotional quality to drive your thought. So your thought is lost. It's like a very fast spaceship that hasn't got any direction. It's lost in a galaxy far, far away. You don't have emotional quality to direct, to navigate your otherwise good spacecraft. Okay, that is your problem, Andrew Tate. So you parrot, and even, because everything you say is parroting, but let's say you invent this arguments that make sense in logic, but you don't have the emotional υπόβαθρο basis to support your otherwise sharp mind. Unfortunately, you are emotionally handicapped.
Look at the Muslim world, right? People have their faces covered. A lot of the women have their faces covered. You know what happens when you cover someone's face? What? You dehumanize them. If you have 100 people in a crowd and you see their faces, you can see individuals. When you have 100 people with their faces covered, they're just a number. You dehumanize.
Islam fixes a lot of the problems that men are currently facing. Yeah. The problems we're discussing on this show, Islam fixes all of them, right? Women, everyone's married. Every woman obeys her husband. Every single woman has 4, 5, 6 kids. Big families. All the things we're talking about, all the problems we have here, right? They've got none of that. None of it. Because of Islam. Islam keeps society in the role where women obey their man.
Okay, this idiot, keeps sending mixed messages. But they are not in fact mixed. They all derive from the same logical, the same mindset. So, as we said, he has sharp logic. So as long as something is consistent, in other words, as long as you are consistently evil, that's a good thing. Because at least you are consistent. You stand for your principles of being evil. This emotionless and therefore morally handicapped individual is the most shallow and sophisticated. Okay, he hasn't got analytical thought. He sees everything from first appearances. Okay, he says things like, when I go to Qatar, I can sleep with $1 million in my pocket. Nobody will steal from me. Therefore, that is because of Islam. Therefore, Islam is good. Because you went to $1 million, you sleep? What a complete buffoon you are. So, in other words, if you go to Nazi Germany, and because whoever Jew sees you, he gets executed, and no Jew watches you, and you feel more comfortable, that's a good, Nazi Germany is good. You are such a shallow, unsophisticated buffoon. You outrage me. Okay? You are a comedy, Andrew Tate. You are a piece of shit. You are a piece of shit. It's a testament of the level of this world that this kind of idiots are able to have such a huge fan base and to appeal to such a huge group, masses of people. Guys, this is the end of the human civilization. If this complete shallow and sophisticated, without a single virtue, and virtuous buffoon is the moral exemplar, then where is this world? The world is going. Okay, that's the end of the human civilization. In my. Okay, guys, I cannot. Really, I cannot see anymore this idiot. So let's, I don't know, make some kind of comedy.
Because some people have said to me, Andrew, all you teach about is personal responsibility, motivation, working hard, getting up and doing the right thing. I said, that's the absolute, those are the things they're most afraid of. If you teach people to have standards for themselves and to be morally strong people and to know right from wrong, then they can't brainwash you. Yes. So that's what they're most afraid of. They're most afraid of young men waking up and going, no, I don't believe that.
Andrew Tate, like many deluded, self-absolved, egocentric, megalomaniac, virtue signaling sociopath invents in his mind conspiracy theories to dilute from anything that might harm his self-image, realization. Okay? In this case, he blames his ban from social media because of his blatant misogyny to a global, hear these people, to a global conspiracy to silence him because of his teachings, listen of personal responsibility, motivation, working hard, getting up and doing the right thing. Andrew Tate, after using his amazing hindsight, realizing the good in this world, he found the good in Islam, although it's difficult, okay? Common people cannot see through terrorism, executions, hudud, sharia, chopping hands, child marriages, and they might even call all this not so good. But Andrew Tate saw through all these smokes and mirrors that corporations put forward to this anyway, and found the beauty in Islam. At the same time, he discovered that this world that we live now is kind like the Matrix. There are evil forces wanting to silence him because he teaches personal responsibility, working hard, and doing the right thing. And so let's see the real world. In fact, this is the Matrix. Now let's go to the real world.
Wow. Whoa. This is a cool office. I like the little fire things over there and everything.
Hi, we're the Illuminati.
Hi. Hello.
Hi.
So we heard about your big special. We are very excited.
Yeah, thanks. Me too.
Yeah, but before you can do a special on a major cable network, we're going to need you to sign some things.
Okay, sounds good.
We're also going to need you to swear a blood oath to us and our cause. And if you violate this oath, we're going to murder you and everyone that you love.
Got it. Great.
You'll also need to pledge your soul to Baphomet. He's this god that we all worship.
Okay. He looks pretty cool. He's like a crazy goat man kind of thing.
Now, we will need you to include some of our messaging in your program.
Oh, okay. So you mean like there's going to be a commercial sponsor or something?
No, nothing tacky like that, no. We just want you to have some, self-destructive themes. Like we use a lot of hip-hop artists to glorify violence and drugs, pop stars to push materialism, country acts to instill suspicion of education.
Oh, okay. That sounds cool.
We'll also need to film you in a lewd act with a minor to use as blackmail if you ever think of telling anyone about anything that happened here today.
Now, could I self-tape that, or is that something that you'd want me to shoot here?
We'd like you to do that here.
I don't believe that. You have to believe it. No, I don't believe it. I don't want to. And I want to go do this. I want to go to the gym and be strong, or I want to believe X, or I want to be a moral person. They genuinely have a problem with baseline morality.
Yes. Yeah.
Understand? When some people recognize when I converted to Islam that there was a time I was an atheist. There was a time when I was atheistic. And the reason I am now so absolutely certain that God is real is because I've seen evil. I've seen shaitan. I've seen it. When you see enough evil, you realize that there must be an equal and opposite force. And there are people out there in the world today doing the work of the devil, genuine demons, who are trying to destroy the baseline morality that's inside of all of us. We're all born with some kind of morality, and they're trying to destroy it.
In order to understand how good is Andrew Tate in spotting evil, he saw this incident
Muslims are the only people who will defend their religion. They will defend their beliefs. They refuse to be mocked.
A female student was beaten mercilessly and then set on fire by fellow students.
Allahu Akbar! Allahu Akbar! Allahu Akbar!
This video has gone viral with the hashtag Justice for Deborah.
They refuse to be insulted, and I respect that about them.
On January 7th, masked gunmen attacked the offices of Charlie Hebdo in Paris.
Wow, Andrew Tate, guys, is like very insightful. He's like a superhero of insightfulness. He's got this hyper ability to spot good. He's like got a third sense for good.
Once known as Jack Brolin, a reporter for the national news, the hero was born when a freak accident gave him the amazing power of extraordinary hindsight. From toxic spills to unjust wars, there is no task too large for Captain Hindsight. You see those windows on the right side? They should have built fire escapes on those windows for the higher floors, then people could have gotten down. And then on the roof, they should have built it with a more reinforced structure so a helicopter could have landed on it. Yes, of course. And then you see that building to the left? Yes, they shouldn't have built that there, because now you can't park any fire trucks where you really need to. Well, looks like my job here is done. Goodbye, everyone!